Cool. Awesome. So what you were hearing right there is a section of a track that I've already finished, but I've got the Trigon, which you see before you, playing the sort of main melody. What I wanted to do with this stream is, it's a kind of long time coming. I had to get the tech figured out and all this kind of stuff, but I wanted to explore what I think is a really, really underrated synth. Just talk a little bit about it. I'll kind of go over the basics of it, and then we'll just make some sounds. My hope is that maybe this synth, which wasn't on your radar, maybe now is, and you understand why I just think it's a freaking cool synth. So just right off the bat, I have this like higher res image here. And this, I think, will help you just to see like a little bit higher res thing of like what the heck is going on with this synth. Because, just technology being what it is and my capabilities and stuff like that, this looks a little bit grody, right? But I think we'll kind of get there. So anyway, just kind of wanted to give you the basics of what this synth is. And then we'll kind of get through it. And explore what it can sort of give us. So at the center is this oscillator section, right? And there's 3 oscillators that you can choose from. And basically you have the ability to, you have your standard octave switches going up and down. You can sync oscillator 2 to oscillator 1, and you can actually deviate the pitches of oscillator 2 and 3 from the main note that you're hitting on the keyboard, right? So basically what this means, it goes up and down 7 semitones, which is a perfect fifth, right? So if I've got my patch here, and I just go to my kind of thing here, right? Right, so that gives you like a pretty like fat sound, right? You have with each oscillator, you have the opportunity to use the sawtooth wave, square wave, and the triangle wave. Now you can obviously see you can combine any combination of them. So for this patch, for example, I've got the triangle wave going, I've got all 3 on the second oscillator, and then these 2. So like playing with the octave switches and the types of waveforms that you can add on gives you some really interesting results. Additionally, on the third oscillator, you have this sort of backwards sawtooth wave, so that can give you additional sort of timbral control and variation. You have a pulse width control for all 3 of the all 3 of the square oscillators. You have this little mixer section. And one of the things that makes this synth really, really unique and interesting is it has this feedback/drive knob. Now, make just a mental note of that because we're going to come back to that. But let me just zero it out and play this patch that I have on. And I'll turn the knob to the right first. So that'll give us our drive. It's a pretty subtle control. But then I'll go in the other direction to the feedback. And that is... it's not so much as a feature as it is a weapon. It gets like really, really insane. And, the feedback circuit is totally different than the Sub 37, which I also have, which has a sort of feedback knob in addition to having drive. Unfortunately, with this, you can only have one type, right? So you can only kind of turn it left or right. But on the other side over here, you have this analog distortion, which is really awesome. And while it does give you a lot of volume, which you might not want, right, because you have to kind of gain stage as you go, the good thing is that you can, you can kind of control your master volume over here, and then you have your program volume. But before I get any deeper, like let me just turn the knob for the drive and feedback, and we'll see where we're at. So I don't know if you can hear that, but it's a pretty dang subtle effect. And maybe with sort of busier, crazier patches, we'll hear more of that. Now I'll turn up the feedback, and I think you'll hear it's a bit more of a extreme effect. Yeah, so I think you can kind of see like that can get really, really nuts in potentially a good way, right? All right, and then moving over here to our filter section, I'll just click on my image again so you can see it better. You have your standard cutoff and resonance and the envelope amount and the envelope, the ADSR envelope that affects the filter right under that. You also do have this button that says 2-pole. So there are actually two different types of filters on this. You have a 2-pole and a 4-pole filter. The keyboard button that you see right to the right of that, where you have half and full, that's envelope tracking as far as the keyboard. So that will sort of, depending on what setting you have it on, the filter will affect more or less the upper keys and the upper frequencies that you use. There is a velocity control for the ADSR on the filter, as well as your main amplifier, which is your standard ADSR as well. Some other great things that this has, like a lot of the sequential synths, there is a vintage knob as well as a pan spread. This synth is totally a stereo synth. You need to use this in a stereo way to really take advantage of all of the awesome sound qualities that it has. Also, as well, kind of at the bottom, you see that it has this sort of patch bay. This is where you kind of like control all your presets down here, right? And then over here you have a glide and unison, right? So if you turn on your glide, that's going to do this portamento slide, and you can control it with the glide rate, which controls how quickly like it sort of glides and slews into the next note. This unison thing, if you just press it, that will basically turn your patch into a mono patch, but there's a little hidden feature. If you press and hold it, now all of a sudden you see that I have like 1 here, which basically is saying like I have a unison of 1. And then you have like decrement and increment switches, so you can go all the way up to 6. Hence the name Trigon 6, right? So we'll start on 1, and I'll kind of edge it up to 6 with just this sound that I have, and we'll kind of see how fat and crazy the sound gets. Let's try it. Back to 1. Yeah, so you can see how it just kind of gets thickened with the unison spread. Then with the vintage knob, the pan spread, the distortion, the feedback and drive, there's a lot of things that are sort of at your disposal super immediately. The thing with this synth is it does not have an extensive mod matrix, but there are also literally no menus like at all. So you have this single LFO, which you sort of have your basic shapes. You have triangle, sawtooth, a reverse square, a reverse saw, a square, and then a random, right? And then you have the amount that modulation is going to affect these various parameters, and then the frequency, which you can also LFO sync to hear your clock. This is your mod matrix right here. You have frequency 1, 2, and 3, pulse width 1, 2, and 3, your filter, and amplitude. And I mean, that's all that the LFO can affect, right? So super limited, right? To give you a little bit more, you have this polymod section where, again, you can affect the frequency of oscillators 1, 2, and 3, your pulse width 1 and 2, your feedback, and your filter. Now, you might be wondering, why didn't they give you pulse width 3? The reason for this is that you can actually use oscillator 3 in this polymod section, as well as the filter envelope. So one thing that I didn't go over is if you look quickly on the oscillator 3, you see that there's this little keyboard button. Now, basically what this means is that it will track pitch as you would expect the other two oscillators to do, right? So when I play an F, you're not hearing, like if I were to turn this off, now what you're going to hear is whatever pitch this oscillator 3 is at is going to play regardless of the note that I'm playing. It's a really bad example, actually. Let me see if I can go to like a different patch real quick so we can hear this. Yeah, so you can hear really immediately there, as soon as I turn the keyboard off, you're hearing the straight droning tone of wherever oscillator 3 is. I'll play higher up on the keyboard so you can hear that as well. Right? Versus if I turn it on, right? So the oscillators are now functioning in total harmony. So the reason that you might want to use this is that if you turn off keyboard, right, there's actually an octave lower here where you can go into this like low mode, which basically means LFO range. So now you can use this to affect the polymod section in your oscillator 3 amount. So for example, you trick it into having a second LFO. Now, obviously the downside is you give up one of your oscillators. Now, you can use oscillator 3 amount in the polymod section regardless of if you have it on this low mode or not. So this is another trick. Like, you can totally keep this in keyboard mode or not, and then you can use that oscillator 3 amount in something else as well. So you can get really crazy effects with filter and feedback, right? So that's another really interesting tool. So like, I'm sort of not using it as intended, right? And then there's an aftertouch section over here where you have frequency 1, 2, and 3, and then your mix of your effects, your filter, amp, and the LFO, which is the LFO down here. That brings us to the effects section. You have a bunch of effects. I think that they're pretty good. Some are more useful than others. We'll kind of go just through them real quick. So obviously you can turn off, you have 2 effects that are always in serial. You can turn one or both of them off. You could also turn the effects off just by pressing this button. So the types of effects that we have, you have a bucket brigade delay, which can be synced to the clock of your song. You have basically a digital delay. You have a chorus, a phaser. You have actually 3 phasers. You have a ring modulation and a couple of flangers. You have 2 flangers. I find the flangers and the phasers probably the least usable of these effects. I like the delays because, those are always just going to sound good. The chorus sounds really good as well, especially when you have the unison, and all these kinds of other things. You can get like just these really thick freaking patches. If you go over to effects 2, effects B as it is, you basically have the same effects, but you have additional effects after the flangers. So you have your hall reverb, room reverb, a plate reverb, and a spring reverb. I like all of these reverbs, actually. They're really nice. Coming from the world of the Sub 37, I don't have any reverbs on that at all. There's no effects on the Sub 37 at all. So it's just, it's really a welcome aspect of this synth to have just some reverbs. Now, it's kind of like a design decision that they made the reverbs not something that you could have in your A section, because what I would like to do is, for example, put on a hall reverb and then flange it or something, or put a chorus after the reverb, right? Or delay after the reverb, which, is not sort of the conventionally proper thing to do. But I think it'll give me it's just, again, I want more creative sort of options to myself. But anyway, yeah. So what I have prepared for you guys today is, if I take off this, I have my sort of, Ableton session where, I just have a MIDI track going into this song kind of thing. And I was just going to play a couple of examples of what this sort of synth is capable of, just looping this one section. So yeah, I'll just go through a couple of sounds that I've made with the synth, and then we can kind of start from scratch potentially and just make some interesting sounds. So here's some sounds. I'll just kind of shut up for a bit and play through these guys. Cool. Yeah. So hopefully there you get a sense of, what kind of maybe lead sounds you can get out of this. Obviously I was playing a track in context, and I selected a couple of sounds that I made that, I think would be appropriate for this type of song. Just kind of wanted to go through some of the other patches as well. So by the way, like me navigating over here is, you have your basically hundreds column, tens column, and then you just press this for the ones column, right? So if I wanted to go to, sound number 353, I would just press 3, bank 3, then tens, 5, and then I would press 3 again to get to 353. You could press those in any order, but that's basically how you navigate your patch storage. I'll show you the first sound that I ever made with this thing. It's using the feedback knob. I'll just play that. Nice little pad. I feel like, if we sort of start with this sound, right, and we take off maybe the chorus and the room effect, what do we have? See, it just sounds like super like narrow and, I don't know, not as interesting, not as like vibrant and girthy. So maybe the first thing that I would do with this is like, increase the unison, right? So, there's also this chord mode where you can kind of program in chords, but we won't get into that. So why don't we try for like 6 unison, right, and see where that gets us. Yeah, so then like adding the chorus in the room gives us this. Just watching my gain staging a little bit here. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, let me just go through like, this first round of sounds that I did is like kind of showcasing the more like experimental side of it, because I had just gotten the synth, and I really wasn't interested in making basic sort of like fat sawtooth sounds. I just kind of wanted to see like the craziest stuff that I could get out of this. So let's just go through like this bank. There's some good sounds in here. Now what you're hearing there, right, the keyboard is off on the third oscillator. So let's see what happens when we turn it back on. Super nice sound. Let's go to the next one. Next one. Obviously taking advantage of the LFO on that one. Again, definitely taking advantage of that feedback. Bit of an ugly sound with the keyboard off again. Let's turn it on. Doesn't really help it. So you can see just by, I basically put my third oscillator into like essentially the closest thing that we can get to a sine is this triangle wave, right? And then I put it in low mode, and I was like, literally, as I control the pitch, that's adjusting the frequency of the LFO wave, right? So obviously I have a bunch of things like tied to it, so it just kind of like helps the whole sound like kind of morph around. Let's go to the next sound. We already listened to sound 7, so let's go to sound 8. Cool. All right, so let's just like make some new sounds, right? Because that's what you guys are here for. Now, I think if you press globals and right, it sort of gives us like an init preset. Nope. It's preset and right. Here we go. Okay, so it initializes a preset, which basically gives you just a sawtooth on oscillator 1, and it gives you like a little bit of LFO on that first oscillator. So basically it's just giving you a little bit of a vibrato, right? Here's what that sounds like. Not super usable. So let's turn the amount down first of all. I might like just turn that off. You know, we can always like add it in later, but right, basic. So right off the bat, I kind of just want to gain stage things by putting all of my oscillator volumes at like, you know, the 12 o'clock position. That's just something that I generally do just because I feel like, you know, the analog distortion and, you know, maybe all the stuff that we're going to do to it is probably going to crank it up. And from there, from 12 o'clock, I can, you know, go up or down as I want. Let's start bringing in some other oscillators. Like I'm going to start thinking about, you know, I don't have any kind of sound in mind necessarily. I kind of tried. Sometimes I go in with an intention of like, okay, I want to create like a bass patch or something like that. But oftentimes I'll just kind of just be, you know, just using the synth and just kind of exploring and just seeing what sort of comes up, you know? So I'm going to pull in like a triangle a triangle wave. And then maybe I'll do this like backwards sawtooth. And, you know, they're all at octave 0. So let's see what that is. We're getting a little bit of that kind of like square wave sound, like where it's probably like phasing with this thing. So let's try like dropping some of these down and up and see what happens. Just want to make sure my filter's all the way up. Here's where you can kind of hear the drive. I'll just turn it up all the way because I know it wasn't really that easy to hear before. Can you hear that? Like it's like the oscillators just get like a little bit beefier. I think one thing that we can do right off the bat, I kind of just want to go into the effects a little bit, is give this a little bit of a chorus. Now, you know, it's like if you kind of know what your synth is doing and stuff like that, I'm totally fine with like going towards the effects like earlier on in the process. I know that a lot of people just like to add them at the end. For example, reverb is just always going to make everything better. So, you know, it's like if you have a good foundational sound down, you know, like work on patching that up first and then adding the reverb, which is always going to accentuate it. But in this case, I'm going to try to just, you know, get a chorus in here earlier than later. The first, like, there's a dry wet knob over here, which, you know, you can toggle to your different effects. And then these are two sort of parameters of the effect. Like, I can look it up on the manual, but basically it's just like, you know, I think for the chorus, it's going to be the rate of the chorus and the depth, right? So you can kind of play with these. I like to keep these effects like pretty subtle and then just kind of bring them up so they're, you know, you can kind of feel them like, you know, 10 or 20%. Well, I mean, already that is like, it's very like obvious what the chorus is doing. Where's my, okay, my wet is set up pretty high, so let's get it more subtle. It's crazy how much that does. I'm going to toggle the chorus on and off so you can hear it. so much more punchy, and it just kind of like, it's starting to kind of give you that stereo spread that's really nice. Let's turn up the vintage knob and the pan spread and see where that gets us. So maybe the pan spread should be at like 11 o'clock or so. I'm going to keep the vintage up all the way. Like, why not, right? And I would say, like, since we're affecting the pulse width over here, let's get the LFO going on that. You can kind of hear it beating a little bit, but like not a lot. Let's maybe pull up the octaves for this a lot. You can hear it now. Might actually turn the pan spread down on this one. It's weird. You can hear the LFO, like it's like a tone in there. Let's get the Unison in there. Let's go all the way up to 6. Let's do it. I can actually hear the amount of the LFO as well. I'm going to turn that way down. I want to go give this more bass frequencies, so that's kind of like oscillator 2 right now. Kick this one down a little, 1 octave. I want to play with the sawtooth wave in oscillator 1, just octave wise, see where that is feeling better. That's feeling pretty good. Let's do some like crazy experimental stuff. Like, what if we put a second chorus in after the first chorus, like double chorus, right? And I'm just going to reference what I have here for the effect parameters. Okay, 17 and 34. So I want to do something like pretty different than that, right? Like maybe something like this. Maybe lower this a little bit. See what this sounds like. Whoa, Nelly. We're at an underground rave already. It's feeling a little bit smeared to me. Like, I'm just going to take the dry wet down. We might go like pretty low down on that. That's already feeling a lot better for me. Like, it just doesn't feel like so freaking wet, really. You know, like if, like, well, I wonder if we could go higher with the first chorus. Let's see what happens. All right, now let's get even crazier and let's engage this feedback knob, right? Because I know you guys were waiting for me to use that. It just totally blew up your speakers. I'm sorry about that. And lastly, let's use the filter. It's not bad for like a kind of intermediate sort of sound. What I'm going to do is if you press right, then you can, the next button that I press is going to write it to that slot. So if I press right and then 3, it'll rewrite patch 3. That's not necessarily what I want. I want to press globals. And what this will do is it'll allow me to sort of compare and travel around the synth. I know just from doing this a lot, I have a bunch of patches already. I'm around like 160 patches into this. So let's say we'll go to patch 160 and see what that sounds like. And if I don't like it, because I'm probably not going to because it's a factory preset, then we can overwrite that one. Yeah, that sound sucks. So like I'm going to unselect globals, and now I'm back to right, and I'm just going to press 160, and now the sound that we were working on is patch 160. Right? So I want to decrease the feedback a little bit, and I think I want to get a little bit more of the frequencies in there, so I'm going to increase my cutoff. Let's do it. And let's try the 2-pole. Whoa! I definitely want to play with, let's see. So I'm going to turn off pulse width 3, and I'm going to LFO the filter because I kind of want it to like move a little bit. Let's just get it right on the triangle. I'm going to go pretty slow frequency, and I'm going to edge up the amount until I sort of hear that filter beating a little bit. Okay, I can already hear it, but so it needs to go a little bit faster. It's interesting that I can't just kind of dial in a little bit. Let's try, instead of that, because I just want a little bit of it, let's go for the polymod section. And we can use there's like a detent here on both of these, so like in the center you'll kind of feel it click together. Which means that there's nothing going on there, and then you can go actually like positive or negative amounts. So I'm just going to do a little bit of the filter envelope and see where that gets us. Give us a little bit of that feedback. Let's see what we can get away with. That's nice. All right, so we're going to write that to 161. This is sometimes how I work, where I'll just kind of keep iterating on a patch, saving a bunch of things. They could become kind of like alternate versions. Let's get one of the reverbs in here because you guys haven't heard that yet. Just show you what that sort of sounds like. So you got the hall. I'm just going to do like 127 wet, which is the full amount, just so you can kind of hear what this sounds like. Just kind of audition all the various reverbs for you. So next we have room. Just a little less spacious. The plate. That's a nice one. I always like my plates. It's very industrial. And your spring. Very different. Doesn't sound like a spring reverb really to me at all, but it has this kind of like strange lo-fi character that I just really like. I don't know. So let's turn this down and see if we can get something working with it. And maybe we change the first effect. So like maybe a bucket brigade delay. I'm actually gonna like pick a sync as well. Like over here you could set your tempo. My song is at 115, so I'm gonna put it on there and then I'm gonna sync it. When you do that, you see that there's kind of like these time divisions, right? Standard time divisions of the clock. Yeah. So with this, I'm gonna put my sustain down a little bit on my amplifier. I'm not sure if the spring reverb is working that well for this patch. Maybe just like a room, a little bit like transparent, I guess. Like turn the dry wet down a bit. Let's go brighter with some of these oscillators too. You really gotta watch it with this feedback button. I kind of like this where there's like, you know, all of my oscillators are like +2 octaves, right? But there's this like bed of like this murky, like nasty feedback thing that's under there. I really like that. Let's save that one out as well. Cool. Maybe just start with a new sound. Let's do it. Like initialize the preset. Okay, cool. What should we do? What should we do? Just again, gonna turn up my oscillator volume up. Ah, that freaking LFO. Let's try working with the sync oscillator too. We haven't really messed around with that. So that gives you sort of like this hard sync kind of vibe. This just screams for, it's already kind of giving us like a kind of ring modulated sound. Let's go for, these phasers are really hard to use. Let's try to use them though. I think phaser 3 is probably maybe the most usable, but again, I keep it like super low on the dry wet. I mean, it's just kind of like, for me, the phaser sound is not really one that I really reach for it that much. But, you know, to each their own kind of thing. And the flangers even less so. That's flanger 1. Whoops. Let's see flanger 2. Flanger 1 again. I'll kind of toggle between them so you can hear them. So flanger 1 sort of is like a bit wider. Give me a second, guys. I'm just going to like close my windows because we got that afternoon glare coming in. BRB. Cool. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. We definitely don't even need like any light on the Trigon at all. Cool. Yeah. So again, like the flangers, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's just not my vibe. I'll audition the 3 phasers for you guys again. I was using phaser 3. Here's that. Here's 2. actually kind of like that one. Here's 1. That's just like, you know, super obvious phaser effect, but let's try to work with 2. I think that was like, you know, halfway decent. Here, let's play around with those settings. And then I feel like to bring that out, maybe the chorus again. What do we have on the Unison? Oh, we're just on 1. Let's see what happens with 6. Let's get some aftertouch in here too. Doesn't really work for how I want it. Let's play with drive. And then back to the feedback. Let's go. Yeah, let's just like, you know, because I think it's very easy to just work with the feedback all the time. But you kind of do get a lot of these sounds that are like super like aggressive in the low end, which is great. But, you know, maybe if we set our directives and we're maybe trying to make a lead or something like that, it might not be the best because you're probably going to filter out a lot of those frequencies. But the distortion, on the other hand... Let's get some pulse width going on oscillator 1. Yeah, it's just getting so aggressive. Which may be what you want. Oh, yeah, I failed to mention before that on the oscillator section you also have like white noise. It's always fun to play with. You know, put it like super low in the mix. It's added in. I found with basically using the filter and the oscillators together, it's really difficult actually to create these patches in a good way that like, you know, there's not a lot of these frequencies that sort of like rip your head off, you know, which is good because then you sort of like, you just get it into your DAW and you're kind of like good to go, you know. But the one thing that does add a lot of upper harmonics is the distortion knob. So you can kind of use the filter and the distortion, I feel, to like in tandem to create like a better, you know, a more sort of rounded patch, you know, like if I turn the distortion all the way off and the filter all the way up, right? Like you'll hear the sound. Now we're getting a lot of those super high frequencies from the noise. I'll turn that off. like it's almost like it's not like a full frequency spectrum sound, right? Where the frequencies are sort of cutting off. Or I'll actually show you on. I'll just pull up an instance of like Pro Q3 real quick, just to show you in Ableton. Like this is like really a nice feature of this synth, that it really doesn't like sort of rip your head off as far as those, you know, upper frequencies. Hold on, let's just switch over to it. Eine Moment. Yeah, so as I play some notes on here, like there are those upper frequencies, right? But they're not like insanely like, you know, just kind of tearing at you, you know, where you're like, ah, that's freaking painful, right? And when I engage the filter, just really quickly, like you just get rid of those nasty harmonics, right? And even on the 4-pole mode. Right, but then watch what happens when I engage the distortion. Like those harmonics come back, right? And obviously it's a much more aggressive sound, but it's again still not like tearing your head off, you know? This was like a big problem that I had with like VSTs. Like I would use Serum for my first album. And, you know, I was always kind of trying to play defense, you know? So that's one of the things I really like about this synth, that it's still quite dark in a way, as far as frequencies, you know? Just something I wanted to point out, because, you know, it's just kind of night and day with some of the software stuff that I've used. But, you know, obviously I still use software a ton. And go back to my Trigon view. Yeah, I mean, this is not a bad patch. I'm not like, you know, super into it, but we can save it out. 163. All right. Now, I almost want to like, what should we do next? Let's try to make a bass patch. We haven't really kind of like messed around with that. So I'll go into my init preset again. And these triangle waves work really well for bass frequencies, I feel like. So let's just kick things down. I won't even use the third oscillator for right now. Let's just see where we're at with this. Freaking LFO. Okay, I'm already liking that. Maybe kick the distortion down a little bit, raise the cutoff. See what happens. Too much distortion now. Never thought I'd say it. Let's turn the volume down. Let's do a slight chorus on this guy. Way slight, way slight. I'm going to turn off the vintage, or sorry, the unison. Yeah, that's nice. A little bit more release, perhaps. It's crazy how much that unison does. Let's maybe, you know, kick it down to 3, middle point. Cool, yeah. Let's see what we can do with this. We haven't really messed around with the ring modulation. Before I do that, I'm going to save this out, though. Let's do the ring mod. The ring modulation could be kind of crazy. You know, it can just kind of put your patches into like a totally different place. Like, you know, we're making a bass patch and all of a sudden we're making this like, you know, weird sound effect. Oh, that's cool. That's interesting. So I'm going to save that off as 165, and let's just toggle between the 2 bass patches that we had. Some really nice grit that was added with the ring modulation. I didn't really think that that was going to happen with that. I'm liking that. Let's keep exploring this. We've got this saved out, so we can, you know, kind of keep going. What if we do double ring modulation? Let's just go crazy with it. Let's see what happens. I've never tried this. And I'm going to, yeah, mess with this. It's getting crazy again with the gain. I like what the first one is doing, but I wonder if I turn this off if it'll sort of sound the same. Okay, it sort of is, so I think like we want to go with a reverb then. So let's go for the plate. Just turn it down a little bit. It's crazy how that reverse saw on Oscillator 3 is just doing a lot of work for us. Super lo-fi. Yeah, this is like getting us like some super weird like opera harmonics. I almost want to like, you know, tamp down the sort of buzziness to it if I could get something a bit more cleaner. So maybe I'll just try just 2 triangles and a reverse saw. See what this is. Yeah, see, it's like with the ring modulation, it's like, what even is this sound right now? It's like this weird clanking sound effect, right? Distortion. Makes that plate ring out more. So weird. Maybe tamp it down on the filter. Let's try the feedback. I don't know what the hell is going to happen with this. Let's kick down the distortion. I'm actually going to like just go zero this back out. I kind of liked where I had that. Maybe I'll save that out. So we already saved 165. Let's do 166. And then we'll make a variation which increases the feedback. Add some noise. And, you know, I mean, this just screams like a percussion sound, right? So if I turn the sustain all the way down, now I feel like that's almost like what this sound was meant to be as far as its envelope. I didn't actually talk about the arpeggiator. This might be something that could be useful for the arpeggiator. Like, so you could turn it on or off, and then you have, you know, your standard arpeggiator modes. You have up, down, random, and assign, which means you can kind of like, you know, do like a little chord progression or whatever, and it'll sort of do that. I'll just set it up to 3 octaves right now, so it'll kind of randomly go through those. So I'm going to hold a bunch of keys down. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, it's a weird, like, kind of effect thing. It's its own thing, I guess. Yeah, maybe a different reverb would be better. Yeah, weird kind of sound. Yeah, let's keep going. Maybe we'll turn the arpeggiator off, turn the feedback down, turn the distortion down. Maybe we will switch the ring modulation. Like now, maybe just go for, let's try to make the flangers usable. I think we liked, what did we like? Flanger 2 more. I'm going to turn off the hall for a second. Oh, right. We're still doing I mean, that's kind of a cool percussive sound too. Let's mess with the flanger settings just to see if we can get that any better. Like 170 and 59. I'll remember that's, you know, this is kind of usable, I guess. Whoops, I had it. Freaking wrong thing. Shoot. Anyway. Yeah, it sounded really good up there. Nice, like weird little industrial snare type thing or something. I don't know. I'll save that out. Turn the noise down. That was obviously a big part of the sound. Wow, we made the flanger work for us. Look at that. Let's try the phasers. Which one? We liked phaser 2, right? super weird too. I feel like maybe the feedback might work with this. I don't know. That's cool. Gonna go down one. What if we turn the keyboard off on this one so it's kind of just not tracking? See, that's why it would be good to have more of a modulation matrix, because I kind of like doing this, you know? That's like a cool sound. Alas, I cannot. But this is cool. Okay. We made the flanger and the phaser work for us. Look at us. What if we replace the flanger with a chorus? I'll turn the keyboard back on for this guy. Almost seems like detuned, right? Let's try to bring more of that out. So I'll do like, you know, a frequency, just a little bit, super slow LFO, and a little bit. It's really woozy now. Not really that usable, honestly. Not really feeling that. Turn the frequencies off. It's got to be some sort of setting with the phaser. I think it's just too wacky. Let's go to phaser 1. Let's try playing with that. Yeah, I'm just not into that like kind of like formanty kind of sound that phaser has. Like here it's a little bit like lessened, so I'm kind of like it's I don't even know if it's acceptable, but like it's a little bit more forgiving, I guess. Yeah, I don't know about the phaser on this sound. But a delay will work. I'm going to set my clock back to 1:15. Oh, and by the way, the only reason that I have like this sticker over here is because there's this tap tempo thing. I just cannot stand that blinking light in my face, but you can like tap tempo if you don't know the tempo of your song. I guess that might be usable in some circumstances. I've never really found it super useful. I almost want to say like put the BBD on the first channel and then put like a nice little like room, or let's try a hall reverb. Oh wow, that just totally changed the sound. We gotta go back. Go back. BBD. What a strange sound. I turn on the pulse width control, and I don't have any square waves on, so let's change that. I'm gonna just turn off the effects completely and just kind of see where my main sound is. Trying to figure out what I'm sort of either liking or not liking about it. I think first, right off the bat, I'm going to turn the filter all the way up. Maybe turn these guys down, the polymod. Just kind of like simplify the sound down a bit. I almost feel like, yeah, I want to be higher on the octaves. Just checking what the LFOs are doing. I think I want to just have one on. Just going to turn the volumes down on my oscillators, except for number 3. It sounds like really weird. Turn the distortion down. Yeah, I mean, that's just a really nice sound, right? Maybe with a little bit of chorus and some delay, like we just don't have to go hard all the time. Maybe this can just be like a really pretty sound. Let's see what happens. The chorus is like turned up all the way. That's what's creating this weird like detune or something like that. Cool. So this is like a nice pretty sound. Turn up the other oscillator. And oscillator 1. Curious to hear what this would sound like with our song that we had at the beginning of the stream. Probably gonna sound kind of weird. Way too much. that third oscillator is really doing a lot for us. Just feels a little bit overdriven. It's nice. Let's save that out. So press right and then globals, and then I can select my 170s and unselect globals and hit 170. I'm just going to assume that I didn't like that factory patch. It's almost like a steel drum type of sound. It's interesting. Cool. I like this kind of chiller mood that we're going for. Yeah, let's see if we can get something else out of this. It's crazy how different the filters sound. Check this out. So I've got it on the 4-pole now. 2-pole. Yeah, it's just amazing how... It's a really nice full sound. We've got this on Unison 3. Let's go for 6, see what happens. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. We got the distortion actually all the way down. I feel like it's driving a little bit. Let's go to 4. I like that a lot. Let's just write that. Let's play around with just the oscillators and the oscillator timbres and see, or the waveforms rather, and see if we can get something else. Vintage. I like what this is doing a lot. I've used the random LFO and turned the frequency up, reasonably fast. And I've got the amount all the way up, which is affecting all of the pulse widths, which I only have 2 of them activated right now on oscillators 2 and 3. But listen how the sound sort of changes, right? As I just play notes, it's going at like an arbitrary frequency, not tied to the clock. One thing that we can do is engage the velocity for both the filter envelope as well as the main amplifier and see if that gives us any results, different results. Maybe we could try affecting the LFO with aftertouch. Maybe try the FX mix and A and B. I gotta turn the amount up, don't I? Maybe just on chorus. Bad playing. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just a little bit less on the amount. It's curious though. It's just like totally crazy. What the heck? I actually kind of like how it like cuts the sound out. It's like really kind of chaotic. I like this. Yeah, let's maybe we'll just like slim it down to almost like where I had it a moment ago, like turn the drive down, because I like that other sound too. And I think this was up all the way. This is a super forward sound, and I don't have the drive up at all, and I've got the distortion totally down. So that's pretty interesting to me, because I think the chorus is doing a lot. Like, let's turn off the effects, and I think the unison too. Yeah, the chorus is doing an insane amount. I almost feel like it could be turned down a little bit, maybe. Maybe the unison too. Oh yeah, that's so interesting. Listen to that. I feel like we were missing all that with the unison. So I'm definitely going to save a version of that out. Yeah, this is so interesting because it's like the pulse width is going like all these kind of random directions, and it's like turned up all the way. So it's just kind of going crazy. So it sort of creates this like really interesting moving lead that is like really chaotic. What if I put the unison to 1, which basically would just make it a mono synth? Or maybe just 2. Yeah, I like that a lot because I'm just actually going to overwrite 174. Yeah, like this is pretty interesting. Kind of want to just keep messing with that as an idea. Maybe we could, yeah, let's get all 3 square waves in. Let's maybe take out everything else. So just we're dealing with square wave oscillators or waveforms, and let's zero everything out. Turn off the effects. Turn off the glide for now. I think turn off unison. We'll keep velocity off for the moment just so we don't have to worry about that. I'm going to turn the filter thing off. So this is like, reducing it down a little bit. Oh, so interesting. It's so crazy. It's so weird. I think I definitely want to make sure that the pulse widths are in like different stages. I wish this could slew. That would be amazing. Let's try these other waveforms. Okay, hold on. I'm going to turn my vintage and pan spread down. Very strange. playing around, just trying to find something. I'm thinking, what if I put the third oscillator into like LFO mode and start messing around with things in here. It's just going totally crazy. It's wild. No, I'm not really getting to anything usable here. I think that maybe we take the square waves out of the equation. Actually, the feedback and filter, turn the harp off. Turn the Hall off for a moment. Kind of a bread and butter sound, you know, it's just kind of like a super saw, not super interesting, I feel like. Let's maybe switch it to triangle, see what we get. More mellow sound, of course. Switch to 1 just because I want to kind of make this a bit more mono. It's like just because you have 3 oscillators doesn't mean you have to use them, you know? Like I'm kind of just using 1 oscillator right now, but I'm using all 3 shapes. So it's kind of giving me just like one fat sound. I wonder if I take off like one of these wave shapes and move them to one of the other oscillators, and then I have the ability to switch that to a different octave, you know, so I wonder if that'll give me different results. The answer is yes. I feel like this would need a slower attack. Nice. I'm going to do is kick these two down because I actually want to play this in a higher register to get that the relationship. What I'm looking for is I want oscillator 3 to be higher up than 1 and 2, right? So I'm just kicking those 1 and 2 down because I can't go further up than this. So the ratio that I want, the relationship between all of 3 of them is now what I want, and I can just play higher on the keyboard now. I'm not liking the top timbre, so I'm going to just cycle through these. I think the regular sawtooth probably works the best. It sort of cuts through. I'm going to just play around with the volume to see if I can get, you know, the relationship a little bit better. That's really nice. I'm going to save a version of that to 175. I wonder if I could do something with the chorus and just kind of make it fatter or not. I think Unison is probably where we want to be. Let me just play with the chorus a little bit and see if I arrive at a better place. That ain't bad. Just raising the overall dry wet. It's getting a little muddy, so I think I need to drop that guy down. Not bad. Just to compare where we were and where we're at now. Here's 175, which the original sound. 176. I feel like in a practical situation, I think 175 is probably just going to work for us better as a lead. This is a little bit more like spaced out. I think that if we were to make this work, we'd have to drop the BBD down a bunch. So let's do that. See how like the delay is sort of not stepping on the rest of the sound. So I'm going to go ahead and save that out. And I actually just want to hear this in context with my track. Let's play it. I think already the MIDI notes that I have are an octave too high. So I'm going to drop it down an octave and go from there. What's happening? My Ableton. Okay, here we go. just now realizing that my chat has been popping off. Dude, Amanda, Giselle, what's up? Thanks you so much for being in here. I mean, like, I think I've been streaming now for like an hour and a half or something, or 2 hours or 6 hours or something like that. And I'm just noticing it now. Woo! Streaming is still kind of like a new thing. As you can see, I'm like totally like just drowning in like the sounds of my synth, you know. I love it. Thanks so much for being here, guys. This is awesome. You're calling me skinny puppy-ish. That's awesome. Yeah, definitely, totally. I love it. Cool. I'm gonna do maybe one more sound, and then maybe call it quits. But I definitely want to do like a part 2 of this, because there's just so much with this synth that I just really enjoy, as you can probably tell. I want to keep like exploring this sort of more chill sound, you know, and just kind of see if we can get like another usable sort of leady type sound out of it. But I really like where it's heading so far. It's like, you know, this thing surprises you. So yeah, let's maybe, I'm wondering if we go back to 176 and I choose like a different effect. Like maybe we start with the Bucket Brigade delay, right? Or let me see what I had it at. I had it at 4, and then 31. Not that. 31 plus or minus. All right, cool. So that's at 27. So now this should be the same as, you know, what we had on the second channel. Actually, I wonder if like what happens if we then do the chorus, like delay into chorus as opposed to chorus into delay. Like, let's just try that, right? Like, let's get crazy. It sort of sounds the same, but maybe I'm just not wet enough. That's interesting. It doesn't really change that much. I thought it would be a little bit more of a dramatic effect. Let's kick up the wet all the way. Yeah, it's kind of just the same. That's kind of disappointing because I thought it would get crazy on me. What about delay into ring mod? There it is, the ring mod sound. Maybe not for this sound, because we're dealing with a really pretty sound, and I don't want to like screw it up too much, you know. Yeah. It's like I don't want to like necessarily rely on these effects, but they are really fun. These phasers, man, they just kill me. Freaking phasers. Phasers and flangers. I don't really go for it, but that's nice. It's interesting that like I'm not sure what's causing that sort of modulation, right? Like I kind of want everything to be at the same volume. So let me just see. It's probably because we have like a lot of attack on that. Turn it up just a little bit. And maybe go for a bass for this last sound. I feel like this needs a delay. A bass with a delay? What? For some reason, like the square wave on this synth works really well for bass patches. I know that like, I don't know, like I just feel like a lot of people might tend to use triangle and sawtooth waves. But yeah, for some reason, the square square wave works really, really well. Kind of want to toggle between the bucket brigade delay and the digital delay. So I'll just try to audition that. Let's see if we can hear the difference. Can you hear it? I can't really, right? Maybe a bit cleaner on the digital one, right? I don't know. It's hard to tell. I mean, the bucket brigade delay is an analog style delay, so there's probably some modeling going into that. I feel like with delays, I don't know. Yeah, it's highly specific, obviously, just like anything else. And then I feel like there's a little bit of the sound itself is sort of shifting a little bit, which is nice. Let's see what happens. I turn this up. What I'm hearing, I think, I'm not sure, man. Yeah, so like the bucket brigade delays, they will be a little bit darker. That's kind of the analog style that they're modeled after than the digital delay. But yeah, they both sound really good, and you know, it's nice to have both. I'm not hearing a ton of difference with it with this patch. Maybe if I turn up the cutoff knob, we might hear a little bit more. Versus, that's cool. I kind of like the cutoff up a fair amount. That's nice. It's like a little snarling kind of thing going on. I don't even know if I want to mess with this sound too much, so I'm going to save it out. Maybe give it the old college try and try this pulse width thing again with the LFO. Whoa. Oh, yeah. It's like crazy, like noise almost. Wow. That's so cool. Resonance, maybe? It's like becoming like a fucking Doom drone thing. One octave down, let's see what it sounds like. like garbage. Wow. Crazy, crazy. Turn up the amount of the LFO, let's see what happens. Let's go random too. Wow. Let's see how far we can push the distortion. And then should we do the feedback knob? I think we should. Oh my god. It's like breaking up. That's totally insane. Save that out too. Wow. All right, let's see if we can get a little bit more out of this phaser, and then maybe that'll be the last thing we do. Because it's like, it's set pretty low, and I'm not sure how much it's really doing right now. Ooh. Just make it real subtle. Let's see what phaser 1 gives us. I just hate that so much. I hate that freaking, just that 4-minute sound. I'm just not into it. That's kind of cool too, but it just feels like, I don't know. It just feels very 80s or something like that to me, you know, when, I don't know. I feel like I still like phaser 2 the best. That's cool though. Save that out. Cool. Yeah. So we created like, you know, at least 20 sounds, I feel like, in this session. So, yeah, man, this was a lot of fun. Like I said, I wanted to do part 2 of this for sure. Yeah, which will be good too because then I can kind of skip the tutorial on how to use the synth and stuff like that. This was Dave Smith's last synth. It's unique because it has this Moog style filter, and there's so many things I like about this synth. It's very simple and immediate. There's no menus. I love the Unison, the effects that you have, the distortion. Obviously, the feedback is super unique. Yeah, I'm really liking this synth. It totally kind of caught me by surprise too, because a lot of the demos that I heard online were not, super grabbing me, but I was just like, you know what? I just got to get in front of this freaking thing. And I actually went up to a store called Three Wave in New Jersey where, I A-B'd it against the Rev 2 and the Trigon, this one, it just blew it out of the water for me. I mean, it was just so aggressive and forward and musical, really, and again just super immediate. Like I know that there's a single LFO, two if you hobble yourself by taking away an oscillator, but and the polymod and the aftertouch sections are super limited. Like the other sequential synths, you can kind of like select something and modify it and then you're LFOing it. And with the Rev 2 you have, I think, 4 LFOs, right? So it's quite a bit of a different philosophy as far as the design on this synth. But yeah, I'm really digging it. As you can see, like there's a lot of room for creative expression, So I hope to be doing this stream again sometime soon. In the meantime, all the good stuff. Like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, I hope to see you here again soon. I'm just going to try to address some things in my chat. Giselle says, I have a friend that swears by the Rev 2, but I think they struggle when there's too many menus. Yeah, the thing with the Rev 2 is like you have the 2 layers, right? So you can kind of create a sound and then you can go into like basically a second version of that and layer on a totally different sound, which is really freaking powerful, right? It's awesome. But I feel like a lot of people, they might start by pulling up a preset or something like that and then trying to modify it. So sometimes it's like you don't know what has been linked to the LFOs and which side you're sort of like looking at, So with this, it's like a little bit more immediate. It's a little bit more like what you see is what you get, Yeah, I think, Giselle, you might like the immediacy of this. And yeah, the next time we get together in real life, I'm definitely going to have this like with me, like on the road and stuff like that when I gig around. So yeah, I think like you can, yeah, definitely like play around with it and stuff like that. Or, I think they have these even at like Guitar Center and stuff like that. So yeah, they're not like impossible to like get your hands on, But yeah, it's a great machine. I hope to be doing more of these streams in the future. Thanks so much, guys. I'll talk to you soon, okay? Have a good rest of your Sunday. Peace.